I'm a 22-year-old woman from a small village nestled between the rolling hills and deep forests of our homeland. My story begins during my time at campus, where I met a man who would forever change the course of my life. His name was Kofi. Tall, with a deep voice that echoed like the distant drums of our ancestors, he had a charm that drew me in. But it wasn't just his looks that captivated me. It was the connection we shared. We both hailed from the same region, spoke the same dialect, and understood the unspoken nuances of our culture. This familiarity created a bond between us that grew stronger with each passing day. Before long, we were inseparable. We studied together, laughed together, and in time, our friendship blossomed into love. Kofi was everything I had ever dreamed of in a partner: kind, respectful, and deeply rooted in our traditions. When he proposed to me a few years later, I accepted without hesitation. The excitement I felt was beyond words. I had waited for this moment all my life. Our wedding was a celebration like no other. The entire village came together to witness our union. The air was thick with the scent of spices and roasted meat, and the sounds of drums and ululations filled the sky. As part of the tradition, I was instructed to spend the night at my in-laws' house. It struck me as odd. Typically, the newlyweds would spend their first night together. But I was determined to be the perfect daughter-in-law, so I complied without question. The ceremony was beautiful, and we were both enveloped in the joy of our new life together. After the wedding, we left for our honeymoon, where we spent our days in blissful happiness. I felt as though I was living in a dream. Upon our return, however, things took a sudden and dark turn. Kofi complained of feeling unwell, and within hours his condition worsened. I rushed him to the hospital, my heart pounding with fear. As I sat in the waiting area, I called my in-laws to inform them. To my surprise, they reacted with panic and urgency, instructing me not to speak to the doctors until they arrived. When they finally reached the hospital, Kofi's mother took charge. As the doctor emerged from the ward with the test results, he asked, "Who are you to him?" Before I could answer, my mother-in-law stepped forward, declaring herself as Kofi's mother and insisting that she would receive the news. I watched them disappear into the doctor's office, my mind racing with suspicion. Their behavior was unusual, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was being kept from me. When my mother-in-law emerged, her face was unreadable. She did not share the doctor's words with me, and I didn't ask. I knew that pressing her would yield no answers, but I was not one to let things lie. As soon as she left, I formulated a plan. I needed to uncover the truth, to understand why they were hiding information about my husband's condition. I resolved to speak with the doctors myself, even if it meant going against the wishes of my in-laws. The truth, whatever it was, would not remain hidden for long. A few days later, my husband was released from the hospital. I was relieved to see him getting better, but I still didn't know what had made him so sick. The doctors didn't tell me anything, which only added to my worry. Before we left, the doctor gave us some medication for Kofi. Once we got home, I made a special meal for him. As we sat together, I tried to ask him about his illness, but he brushed it off, saying I was being too sensitive. His response hurt me because I wasn't expecting him to dismiss my concerns so easily. The next morning, I woke up early and told Kofi I was going to the market to get some vegetables. Before I left, I secretly took some of his medication with me. I didn't go to our local market, but instead travelled to the next town, where I consulted with a doctor at a pharmacy. I wanted to know what these medicines were for. When the doctor explained what the drugs were for, I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. I couldn't believe what I had just heard, and I almost wished I hadn't tried to find out. My husband had always been sickly that made him unable to have children, and he was always too weak to try. I went to the market as I had planned, but my mind was spinning. When I got home, I tried to act normal, but every time I looked at Kofi, I felt anger and bitterness welling up inside me. I couldn't help but hate him a little more each day. As time passed, Kofi's health didn't improve much, and I had to take him in and out of the hospital repeatedly. His family began to accuse me of poisoning him, trying to make me look like the bad person. I knew they were just trying to cover up the truth, but their words still hurt. One day, Kofi went to the hospital again, but this time he didn't come back. As he lay on his hospital bed, he held my hand and whispered, "I wish I treated you better. Goodbye, my wife." And with those words, he was gone. I cried for a long time, overwhelmed with sadness and relief. But then, I remembered how secretive he and his family had been about his condition. I decided that after his burial, I would leave the country and try to forget everything that had happened. But deep down, I knew it wasn't going to be that easy. During the burial preparations, my in-laws called me for a meeting. They told me there was something important I needed to know, and that it involved a role I had to play during the burial period. They said it was very important, especially for me. Although I was still grieving, I told them I was ready to do anything to make sure my husband rested in peace. Then they explained what they expected of me. I was to walk around my husband's grave, holding a black chicken, while saying some words that I didn't understand. After that, they said I had to spend the night before the burial sleeping next to my husband's corpse, and his brother as well. The thought of doing these things terrified me, and I was also filled with anger. But they assured me that if I didn't complete the rituals, my husband's spirit would follow me, and I would never find peace. I was scared and didn't know what else to do, so I agreed. I didn't tell my family or friends about it. I felt like I had to risk everything, hoping that once it was all over, I could finally leave this nightmare behind. I did everything they asked of me, as strange and frightening as it was. But after I completed the rituals, my in-laws demanded something more. They said I had to marry my husband's brother. I already knew he had feelings for me, but I never liked him. This was the final straw for me. I couldn't take it anymore. I left the house immediately, with no intention of ever returning. I thought that would be the end of it, but life had another twist in store for me. 3 months after I left, I found out I was pregnant. Now, I'm completely lost. My husband was never buried properly because I didn't finish the ritual, and I don't know what to do about this pregnancy. What should I do? Please, share your thoughts in the comments. I need your help to figure this out.